I think it is time we had a talk, you and I. When the Soviet Union was new, there were those of us that Stalin turned to for our particular skills. We were trained to turn men's minds to our will. This is Stalin's psychic legacy. I tell you this because you are too smart not to be curious. We have situation. That odd little man Einstein has provided the Allies with a device that harnesses the energy from storm clouds overhead. Almost whimsical, but effective. Destroy this device with the nuclear missiles I will provide you, and get our forces moving again.
General, by now I have folded Vladimir's command into yours. The weather control device appears to be here in the US Virgin Islands. Sir, I am not quite clear on your intentions, but if you have a move in mind, now is the time to tell me. Establishing battlecode control. Stand by. Greetings, Commander. Your forces need to invade the Allied base and take over their battle lab. Get an engineer in there so we can pinpoint the location of their super weapon. When your men are ready, I suggest you begin your assault here, Commander. This beach is well defended, but it is also the only place to land your troops effectively. Good luck, sir. Battle controls online.
Welcome back, Commander. So we have a large task ahead of us. In a way, it's our very own D-Day.
New construction options.
But
Building.
anyways, this mission is probably the start of the Russian campaign, at least in hard difficulty, where the training wheels are off. Nowadays, you really have to work hard to get any sort of victory. That doesn't mean that any of these mission designs are bad or anything. It's just that, keep in mind you'll need to restart a few times at least. There's a few nasty tricks, and if you don't build yourself up correctly, it's kind of game over right away.
Construction complete.
For instance, in this mission, you kind of don't want to mess around too much with what exactly you build at the start, and where exactly you go further on. For example, you absolutely need to get your finances in order.
Unable to comply.
Power is also a concern from time to time,
Construction complete.
but generally speaking, you're going to want to have at least some defenses in your main base, or at least in the central area of your base, as well as some protection down in the southeast. Getting the free dreadnought is kind of a bonus at this point.
Unit ready. Building. On hold. Building.
It's always a little weird to me to have a Tesla coil before anything else in terms of defensive structures. Just goes to show how vital barracks can be.
Unit lost. Unit ready.
So after destroying the first amphibious transport that comes your way, it has infantry, really, you want to send your tanks to the southeast. Reason being is you're gonna see another amphibious transport show up.
Building.
You'll actually see two of them, and they're not quite as docile as just a little bit of infantry.
Construction complete. Cannot deploy here.
It also becomes rather crucial to get a
On hold.
series of Sea Scorpions. I never really thought I'd be saying that, but it turns out that considering the current situation we are in terms of map position and all that, it's something you'll want to invest in.
Yes, Commander.
It also becomes a little funny when we see just how
Ready.
Ship report.
developed our Sea Scorpions will get.
Ready, Commander. Location confirmed. Vessel ready. Ship reporting. Waiting. Moving.
Now, it could be worse. These amphibious transports could have a lot more units than they do, but they only transport about one Grizzly each. And our dreadnoughts just putting in work at the top.
Location confirmed. Encountering enemy.
The fact that these transports only have one tank each just means that you don't have to worry too much about supplying more tanks for your starting force.
Ship report.
But you shouldn't really rely on that too much. Well-positioned Tesla coil is going to be crucial,
Ship reported.
especially later on as well, but we'll get to that in due time.
Building.
Now, the other issue you might imagine from the Allied forces that basically control the skies is, yes, you're going to have to deal with a lot of Rocketeers. Far more Rocketeers than I ever thought would be the case, which is why I'm very fortunate to have that many Sea Scorpions. And to be completely honest, you could probably double that up and still be considered not having wasted any money. I've gotten so much experience just from the Rocketeers that I've got a number of promotions so far. You know, Sea Scorpions aren't exactly the most expensive unit, so it's to be expected to a certain degree, but also fairly interesting that now I have 3 elite Sea Scorpions. Had I done it a little better, I would have probably had more by now, but in any case. That was just a short glimpse of another unit that we're going to see quite regularly, the Navy SEAL. Not confined only to some special missions on the Allied side, you're going to see him quite a bit in this mission as well.
Construction complete.
Now, the thing to keep in mind
Building.
is that,
Is under attack.
well, I kind of screwed up here.
Lost.
Not the not having air defenses there, but more so having some Typhoon subs attack one of the naval shipyards. I'm not 100% sure what exactly causes it, if it's the attack itself, time delay, or what have you. But unfortunately for myself, I don't really have much in terms of anti-naval
Reporting.
weapons. Sea Scorpions are nice and all, I guess, for their price,
On hold.
but they honestly pack
Building.
little to no punch against
Rally point
anything
established.
on the water.
Our base is under attack.
I guess maybe you could, if you consider dolphins, sure, and
Building.
carriers don't really do too much against them, and Aegis cruisers obviously can't do anything.
They are even more powerful than they are obedient. The immense strength of my squid giants is only vulnerable to the specially trained and enhanced Allied attack dolphins.
Unit lost.
Vessel ready. Navigating.
So unfortunately, not having enough anti-water stuff or anti-naval stuff causes me to lose that very precious and lovely dreadnought.
Cannot deploy.
I'm gonna have to replace it at some point, unfortunately. And, well, considering their cost, it's something I would have preferred not having lost. All that being said,
Ready.
we now have the capacity to build giant squids. We've seen them in the Allied campaign, but the basic gist is that, well, they're great anti-naval stuff. If they can
Unit lost.
survive.
Yes, Commander.
Ore miner under attack. Our base is under attack.
The one basic problem with the giant squid is that, well,
New rally point established.
while attacking a ship, it takes a long time. And while that ship is knocked out and can't do anything, that's great and all, but
Unit
it
promoted.
also doesn't really have the capacity to protect itself in any way. So if you find yourself against some dolphins, you're usually going to have some issues.
Yes, Commander. Navigating.
There also seems to be another problem where if a ship is too close to land, the giant squid just won't attack it. I also believe I had a giant squid get glitched there because it wasn't attacking the dolphin, which I know is a property it can do. In any case, the gist, honestly, is that you should get at least 2 or 3 dreadnoughts before ever attempting to destroy the naval shipyards of the Allies. Get a bunch of Sea Scorpions to prevent Rocketeers from doing anything, and then get some squids so that when they start actually replacing losses and whatnot, you have something to protect against that. But we can see here I'm not able to actually use my giant squids on those destroyers. I believe it's just because they're too close to the ground. I don't quite know why exactly that is. I'm sure it has something to do with how it changes the hitbox or what have you of the unit in question. And if it's too close to the ground, it won't let you because of the collision and not being able to have a naval unit on ground. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. So, unfortunately, I don't have much else to really go on.
Construction complete.
Yes, Commander. Yes, Commander. Target sighted.
Cannot deploy here.
Now, I haven't made too heavy of a mention for it,
Building.
but obviously the
Repairing.
small island with the repair bay or the repair fortress or whatever and the gems is pretty critical for you to grab. If you don't, you're basically just delaying your growth and output by a significant amount.
Construction complete.
Fire at will. Ship reporting. Vessel ready. Captain confirming. Ship reporting.
Basically, the gems are a lifeline in this mission. If you don't have the income for it, it just becomes that much more of a slog when you're trying to defend against hundreds of Rocketeers being sent your way, and the eventual carriers and destroyers and so on.
Building.
Yes, Commander.
Now, the other thing to note is that we have the nuclear silo. You can only ever build one, and by building one, you generate a timer that we can see in the bottom right, as seen with other super weapons. The nuke is not the best, I would say, but rather good for being a super weapon, which is kind of to be expected.
Navigating. Captain confirming.
We'll get to see it in action a few times, and why I feel like it's a little lackluster.
Yes, Commander.
The thing to keep in mind, though, is that by building the nuclear silo, you really have to defend it, like a lot.
Ship report set. Ship target.
It's kind of a rule of thumb that when playing Red Alert 2, because it didn't really feel that way with Tiberian Sun or Red Alert 1, when you're building something that generates a
New
super
rally
weapon,
point established.
the AI will focus on it in some capacity. Whether it's tons of Rocketeers, whether it's Harriers from air commands, these are all things that you need to think about and protect against. I feel compelled to mention that some of the Rocketeers that were stopped in attacking were actually literally only doing that so that they could attack the Dreadnought missiles in the air, which was kind of funny to me. Now, don't worry, we're going to see more nukes, so the fact that that one was sped up is not a big deal. But there is one problem that we could see from it, which is, well, a nuke doesn't kill a pillbox outright. It also doesn't take out a prison tower outright. This becomes problematic, and we'll see exactly how shortly.
Yes, Commander. Target sighted.
Now, unfortunately for myself as well, while doing this, I had a Tesla coil that I built up because, well, standard practice if you're playing a Red Alert game
Construction complete.
is that as soon as you capture something,
Building.
you should generally have a defensive structure built
Our
up.
base is under attack.
especially in Red Alert 2, since you have two tabs, so you can build regular building and defensive structures.
Cannot deploy here.
And kind of just immediately flood the area either with defenses or a structure as well to build from.
Training.
Prism towers do so much damage that they take out a Tesla Quill in one hit.
Examining diagrams.
Building captured.
I have checking designs.
And while it feels like this base is separate from
Commander. Move
any others out there,
Complete.
it's a little unfortunate that taking the power here does not actually shut down any of the prism towers.
Building.
They're connected.
Unit ready.
So,
Building captured.
yeah.
Unit lost. Repairing.
I have checked.
Sadly, that was only something I could learn after the fact.
Captured. Unit ready. Our base is under attack. Repairing. New construction options. Construction complete.
I was basically hoping that
Ready.
by
Unit promoted.
by capturing all the power here, I could deactivate the prison towers. By deactivating the prison towers, I'd be able to capture other stuff more effectively and not really have to worry too much about
Base is under attack.
most of the defenses.
Vessel ready. Captain control. And fire.
Sadly, that's not really the case, and because of
Our
the
base is under attack.
tight funds,
Building.
how the mission is kind of structured,
Construction complete.
for me it was just more important to get a bunch of dreadnoughts, sea scorpions, and so on, rather than focusing on maybe some tanks
Cannot
that
deploy here.
at the moment would be quite useful.
Cannot deploy here. New construction options.
And due to the limitations on space that we have at the
Nuclear
moment,
missile ready.
it's a little hard for me to squeeze in a war factory
Target.
to do something about it. And this is just because I don't want to nuke
Construction complete.
a base and destroy the battle lab that I really desperately need.
Cannot deploy here.
Ship
New
ready.
construction
Vessel ready.
options.
Cruise and fire.
Our base is under attack. Warning, nuclear missile launched. Our base is under attack.
Yeah, a little bit closer and I would have probably taken out that battle lab.
Target sighted. Vessel ready.
It's unfortunate because, well, you don't really have a good idea as to what the area of effect is for your super weapons. The same problem exists for the weather control device.
Construction complete.
And thankfully, if you build enough flak towers, you don't really have to worry too much about what the Allies can throw at you. As soon as the naval shipyards are gone, as long as you have something against Rocketeers and the eventual Harriers that they'll throw at you, you're pretty much golden. Now, I was really hoping that I could do a little bit more with these vehicles, but sadly, having so many prism towers around just kind of makes it a little bit tough to experiment. It should be said, though, that Tesla Trooper inside of an IFV is actually a pretty decent weapon. Not the best, mind you, but pretty alright. And as soon as you take out the battle lab, or capture the battle lab, I should say, you reveal the weather control station. Now, sadly, I thought by capturing the battle lab, I wouldn't be given the satellite, because it didn't generate for me. I was really hoping that it would show up. Hence why I built an Allied Battle Lab, because I figured, well, maybe the trigger is to build one rather than just capturing one. And sadly, that wasn't the case either. So, Yeah, I kind of lose out on that. Now, the AI will only ever display the, well, it gets one free weather storm attack, and then you get the timer. That's why it didn't really show up at the start, because it always, I believe, will target that one area.
Our base is under attack.
It's also why I believe it's such an enclosed area and doesn't really have much there, because, well, there's always going to be that attack at that area.
Warning, nuclear missile launched.
Thankfully, though, the weather control device goes down in one nuke hit, so just save a nuclear missile up until you capture the battle lab and then use it on the device.
Missile ready.
Building. Mission accomplished.